Oh man, these headphones are so tight I can hear my heartbeat. Jesus. I'm getting big-headed that my microphone's working and not Gregor's. Gregor, sort your shit out, pal.
Can you even remember what the music sounds like?
It was that?
It wasn't that.
Oh.
I don't know what that was.
In my head it is.
No, still not there. Keep going.
I don't.
No.
I think that's the V-pub music you're doing.
Bling, 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 bling.
Bang, 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 bang. So come on, I missed a few bits there. So what does your bus mean?
It was an old advertising campaign in Glasgow, the west of Scotland, about Strathclyde buses, I think it was. And the wee jingle in was, "I'm your bus. I'm your bus."
What does that mean? Now, is that you, Glas? Is that your Ouija patter?
It is Ouija patter, mate. It's from Ouija advertising. Unlike your wee maroon buses you get over on the East Coast. No use.
Maroon. That's a good colour, is the maroon.
No, it's not quite tangerine, is it, China?
HEA RTS. If you can't spell it, then here's what it says.
I think you'd be kind of hard pushed not to be able to spell hearts. I mean, that's a special kind of person who can't spell hearts. I was just thinking back to our visit to Hogwarts. Sorry, I mean Edinburgh at the end of last year. Remember we went to went to that tasting and all the American tourists. It's just like Hogwarts. No, it's no. Come to Sight Hill.
So we hadn't even chopped up what was planning for the episodes, have we? Should we just go with it, or
Just
do
go
you
with
want?
Aye, just wing it. Just
All
wing
right.
it, man.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds till I get my water, okay? 2 seconds.
Fucking hell, Lorry.
I just need a name for this episode.
Where the fuck have we been?
Dramface, the return.
Oh, Return of the Dramface. That's it. There you go. But
No, that Return of Dramface was the start of season 2.
was that the name? Was that the name?
It's the Dramface Strikes Back then.
Yes.
We're all good.
We are. Yep.
All right. All right. Here we go. The arbitrary countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, Dramfacers. Welcome to season 3, no less. Episode 25. The Dramface Strikes Back.
Where's the rye?
I need to back off, giving Rye such a hard time. I'm getting bored of myself talking about it. Anyway, today we're joined by Rob, Roy, Scott and Gordon. How are we all?
Hey, up.
Very well, thank you.
Hello, everyone. How are you, Gregor? You well?
I'm good. I'm all the better for being live and recording and seeing your faces.
It's been a while.
It has. And I think that should be the focus of this episode is what we've all been up to, I think, since we hung up the microphones for season 2, which was back in, I think, October. Of course, we were posting after, but that's when we stopped recording.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured this episode should really be a catch-up, what we've all been doing, what's the whiskey journey's been like, and maybe a little focus on Dramface and how it's going.
Great.
But before we get to that, we need to see what's in everyone's glasses. And I think the person that needs the whiskey the most right now would go first. Put your hand up if you are that person. Gordon.
Right, okay.
You didn't volunteer, but I'm volunteering you. I feel like you need the whiskey most. What's in the glass?
I've got many going, but the one that I'm focusing on right now is it's a single cask Glengarry by Berry Bros.
Ooh.
Very nice.
Well,
Mm.
it's not
There's a
like,
but.
yeah, it's not like any other Geary that I've had so far.
Is it a sherry? Is it a sherry butt?
It's a sherry finish.
Okay.
What's that?
No, I was playing off Roy. Roy said there's a butt. Is there a sherry butt?
Ah.
It's okay. It's been a while since we've bantered.
That's right.
Start off with the dad jokes.
Yeah. So
It's not delivering.
well, it is delivering, but not in the way that I expected. It had a lot of sulphur at the start, like I've never really had sulphur. People talk about fireworks or sulphur or eggies, and I uncorked it because the reviews were great. Oh, and it was really eggy. So I left the top off for a whole day. I just left the cork off, and it seems to have been.
All right, so we need to give context here because this is a podcast and you can't see the video that we're seeing. Rob's minion descended into his room and proceeded to make herself at home in the background, and Rob's wrestling the little child out of the way. I was just sharing what was going on to
Well done, buddy. Well done.
to the audience, Rob.
Sorry, excuse me.
We just witnessed Rob put his 4-year-old in a catapult and launch her out of the room.
No children were harmed in the making of this podcast.
Sorry, Gordon, we were absolutely hanging on your every word up until that wee redhead stormed the set.
Non-child.
I'm so sorry.
So what were you expecting from the dram, Gordo? What was...
Well, I should know better than to go into anything thinking I know what this will taste like. So I was expecting the kind of bready, purple, heathery, geary of everything. Maybe even a bit buttery. Have I said buttery? No. But this one is was really fireworky and a wee bit sour and not buttery at all, and just a bit weird. And so to try and, I don't know, diffuse this weirdness, I just left the stopper off for a whole day, and it seemed to tame the fireworkiness of it. So it's still no quite geary like, but it's really interesting, and I'm trying to think why it is like that. It's 9 years, so it's how old is it? 2011 to 2023. 10, 11,
12 years.
12 years. So it's 10 years in bourbon and then 2 years finished in Oloroso. And I think that's the Oloroso that's causing the weirdness.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on.
Scotty's nodding. He was nodding before you even finished that sentence.
I'm just thinking I'm thinking a 10-year-old Glengarry in a bourbon cask. Why would you then ruin it in a nasty sulphur cask for 2 years? Crazy. Madness.
Does Geary normally go through sherry? Or no?
I think it does, aye. I think it does.
The official bottles are a bit of both.
It's a combo, aye.
I think so.
I think one of their best from their official range is a 15-year-old, specifically cherry cask.
50?
15.
Oh, right.
It's not always available. It's one of these kind of 15-year-olds that occasionally it's there and often it's not.
Yeah.
I've got a bottle here, actually, Gordon. We should maybe do a wee trade or something.
I would like to talk about that.
Yeah, it is good, and I've had it before. But generally, the old school Glengarry's, Gregor, would have been peated.
Peated, aye. They're going back to that, aren't they? They're going back to peatedness.
Yeah.
And they've got a fire.
And their wash still is direct fired now. Yeah,
direct fired. That's it.
Yeah, and they've put in their own floor maltings. They're trying to go back to the using peat, at least a proportion of peated malt in there. So there's and I get the impression that the way this has come around for Glengarry, because they're owned by Beam Suntory, who are famously neglectful, right? Auchentoshan, and Beaumont, Lafroig, and I mean the probably the biggest single ignored distillery on the planet, Ardmore, if it wasn't for the Indies,
Yeah.
But it seems to be that maybe the Japanese end of things are getting to run a wee bit at Scotch whisky now, and they've started with Glengarry, and it seems to be under that direction that we're seeing this drive for old school Glengarry, which I would be dead excited to taste in the years ahead. If we're spared, that would be amazing to sit down and taste floor malted from a corporate. That would be quite incredible. Yeah. Well, but that's a shame that one's not lighting you up, because Berry Brothers are usually pretty decent.
Well, I've got another Berry Brothers that I bought. That was my sole reason for shopping. I got it from the whiskey shop, Dufton.
Yeah.
And they have a single cask exclusive Glen Elgin, which everybody was lighting up about. And at the time, I didn't go for it because I was chasing other stuff. But recently, I thought, I'm going to go for that. And while I was there, I saw this Geary, so I bought that as well. And it was quite expensive. It was near enough £100.
Ooh.
And it's just no doing it. it's interesting, but I can't say that I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
Not out and out. Like the Adventurers, 11-year-old was unbelievable. The best Geary, if not the best whiskey I've tried so far. Just loved it.
Oh wow! So
Um,
that was the Adelphi Adventurers.
that was a Delphi bottling of Geary.
I was going to ask you about that because I've got the same bottle. I've not opened it yet, so
Have
that's
you?
good to know. That's good to know.
Oh, it's just phenomenal.
Okay, good.
I
I want
I'll-
to. I want to. I do want to compare what you, because we've differed in opinion on a few drams in the last little while.
have we
And
now?
I think so.
Does it begin with T?
Maybe, and ends
Yes.
in Omatin.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
So I just want to check. I just want to check how your palate it compares to mine these days. So that might be one to open soon.
Well, I think you need to qualify that, pal, because you said that at the time that you tried the whiskey in question, you were greased up to the hilt. So everything was great.
Can we just? Is it a secret what whiskey we're speaking about here? Can we mention it?
Was it the cask strength tomatin?
No, it was the Italian series Amarone.
Oh, the Amarone.
wow.
Yes. Yeah. No, I didn't say greased up. What I think what I said, I was drinking it in the
Upside down.
No, I was drinking it in the visitor centre, and maybe a bit like when you're at a festival, you can get caught up in the moment, and it's you're not your most analytical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I need to open it. But I remember I loved it. I loved the Amarone, and I love Amarone wine. So there's the two should connect.
It did
But
something
no.
else interesting.
Aye. So let's see. I'll
Well, the Geary's
aye.
phenomenal, and it's qualified phenomenal by many sources. It's a banger. So I loved Geary anyway. I'm a
Aye.
Geary fan. The Adelphi bottling just secured it for me. So when I saw this, I was like, "Oh yeah, beauty! I'm going to get that." And it's been challenging since the cork came off.
Well,
Which is good.
before I pivot over to Monroe, just a wee check in with Gordon and your buying habits, as you mentioned, the money spent.
Why?
How are we doing on the most you've spent on a bottle? I remember when we first started to get to know each other, and you came in and you were at a certain budget, or you were like, I'm never going to spend. I think it was even triple digit. You said I might be
120
wrong.
was the most I've spent, but
Right.
I have
Have we-
not breached £100 since that statement.
Okay. That's impressive.
Good on
I'm
you.
impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
impressed. Good stuff. Scott, what's in the glass, buddy?
Although we're just talking there about ruining whiskey and sherry, but I'm actually having a wee sherry dram tonight.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm always slagging off sherry. But I've said before, it's not because I don't enjoy it. I just don't like when I get a sherry cask like Gordon's been talking about, which is sulphury or just too tannic. But I'm having a wee blend. I blended Scotch whiskey from Little Brown Dog. It's their the Druket Dug.
Oh, nice.
Good name.
It came out end of last year, and it's 2011, 43.6, but it's cask strength session dram. There's not often you see a dram marked as a session dram. Refill sherry butts, and it's a cracker. It's really nice. It's the sherry in it is the kind of brown sugar tablet toffee kind of thing, rather than any kind of fruitiness.
sounds
And because
awesome.
it's just such a great whiskey. Now it costs about, you still get it. It costs about between 35 and 38 quid.
Holy moly.
And it's a really good one. And I know why they've called it a session dram. It's just one of these whiskies. ABV's perfect for it, 43.6. It's very easy going.
Drinkable. Yeah.
And it's,
Danger whiskey.
Totally danger whiskey. I mean, I'm holding it up just now, and I've drunk quite a lot of that, and it's not really my kind of thing.
And you only
But I
opened
bought
that 10 minutes ago as well.
Well, that's the thing, like time goes quickly. But I bought this on the same day as I bought another bottle from Little Brown Dog, and they've got a Glenelgin as well. And I bought the both at the same time from the Good Spirits Company in Glasgow. That's a good one as well. It's the Glenelgin's done in Sauterne cask, and I just fancied it, and I just thought I'll go for it. So I bought this at the same time because of the price, and it's really, really nice, really good. I say you can still buy it. It's pretty inexpensive, but if you're looking for a good cheeky wee blend, refill sherry. I really recommend it. I think you'd really enjoy it.
No bad.
As you sung up the value proposition, I was checking Gordon's glasses reflection to see if he was going off. I felt like he was about to start clicking on and go bottle chasing, but
No.
you held well. Little Brown Dog, how long's that been going? I feel
A few years now, I think. 2 or 3
Andrew and
years.
the team are doing great. They're very quickly got quite a following. Lots of people raving about it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
And
like
they've
it tends to be
increased
it tends to be aficionados that are kind of raving about it, and I've got this. And
Well, I think they also, I think when they first came onto the market, their whiskies were in 50 cl bottles, I think. They're now
Yeah.
up at 70 cl, which is
Oh,
great
that's
to
good.
see as well. And I
Yeah,
think
it's really good.
my friend Jan in Newcastle, he's a big fan of things that they do, and they did something in a Tokai cask and things like that. So they quite like experiment with different things. I see the Glen Elgin, as I say, it's Sauterne cask. But these are the first 2 bottles I've actually bought from them. I have not kind of taken the plunge before. But I was intrigued. Just I thought it was before Christmas time, and I guess that kind of stereotypical Christmas dram. You want maybe a wee touch of sherry, and I say, contrary to popular belief, I don't hate sherry, and it's but really good. I really recommend it if you're looking for a nice, easy going, kick back whiskey to have for a good price.
nice.
So yeah, and I'll be keeping my eye open for other bottles from the range going forward as well.
Good stuff.
Aye.
Good stuff. Rob, you look like you were you've had a busy time stomping on bugs and fixing the website. What drama are you reaching for when it's been a day like that?
It's been a lot recently, actually. I've been turning the house upside down, and it's opened up a bit more space on the shelf. So I've been opening up a few more hoarded bottles, and I mean, I've been trying to curb the spending, like a few others. I think I seemingly have a bottle ban on all the time, but yet I always seem to break it when an offer pops up, or I read a good review and it just triggers the FOMO. But at the minute, well, it's the season for me, the sherry season, and going for those big fruity drams. And but it's starting to now eke into a bit of peat as well. I'm not a massive peat fan, especially like cask finished peat. And at the minute, I've been really enjoying it.
So what's in the glass?
So I'm on Wireworks Carduro, and the
Nice
reason
one.
being is because I had a bit of space, and I felt like I needed to open up something that wasn't just another bottle of scotch. And I had like 3 Wireworks hoarded away. So I obviously want to get the Carduro, their kind of core range now, their mainstay. But I also had their recent full maturation port, which was just really, because I tried the double up port, and that was so thick and so like the berry notes. It was just delicious, and it's probably the best example of port cask whiskey that I've tried, and the high ABV helps. So I really want to try this new release, and it kind of shocked me a little bit. I may be wrong, but I'm under the impression that it's the same casks, but then obviously it's not like a fresh cask port; it's like a refill. But on most of the Wireworks stuff is lightly peated, but this is, to my palate at least, very peaty, very porty, and cask strength, and it's just gorgeous.
Where do Wireworks get their peat from?
Oh, I remember asking when I was at the distillery. I asked the question. I think I want to say the Highlands.
They must buy in peated malt.
Yeah, they buy it in. Yeah.
Were you being
I've
Rob?
got-
Were you being an ask hole at the said tour?
Yeah. Well, you try and be when you feel like you're the only person there really is like super geeking out, you try and like stand at the back a little bit more. I was with a lot of friends who whiskey curious, or they kind of like dipping their toe into it, and so you try and let them push them to the front, sort of thing.
I think what White Peak are doing is fantastic. I think their alter ego, the Wireworks alter ego from last year, was probably my whiskey of the year.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I think they're exceptional. I think everything they do is lights out.
The amount of flavour they're able to pack into 4 or 5 year old whiskey is shocking, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Absolutely stunning.
I was raving to them at the Glasgow Whisky Festival back in November. Just tried everything, and also I just want to say that their Virgin Oak is just mind blowing as well. It's fantastic. It's really, really good.
It's really nice to see some bottles that are actually showcasing virgin oak really well. I feel
Yeah.
like for the longest time people kind of turn their nose up a little at it, and I am a fan. I've tried some. It was a 30-year-old from Infrequent Flyers, and that was finished in virgin oak, and it was just out of this world, and that was kind of like my jumping off point.
Yeah, it can sometimes just add a kind of little, if it's done well, a nice kind of edge to it. It's kind of hard to describe. But I think when you've tasted something that's either been finished or matured in virgin oak, you can get it. You can find that something note. I'm struggling to kind of describe it, but if it's done well, it's just fantastic. So that's good to hear about that one, Rob, because I think they're doing really good things.
They really are, and it's a fantastic place.
How is it treating you tonight? Is it delivering better than Gordo's Geary?
At the minute, so this is actually the third pour out of this. I only opened it the other night, and tonight it's gorgeous. It's got a little something, a bit more depth to it tonight. I want to say funky. I think my tasting notes aren't as I'm not as qualified as a Dramface writer in terms of like my being able to articulate my tasting notes, but it's got a little summit creeping in the background. I'm really enjoying.
Don't blow smoke up there, kilts, man. They're on this. They're in this room. They're in the call. Don't. It's a good pivot though to one of the writers, Roy. What's in? I nearly slipped up there.
Close, easy.
Ooh.
Yeah, what a treasured secret it is.
Oh.
No one knows. Oh, what's in the glass?
Brody. I mean, Roy.
Ogilvy.
What's in the glass?
It was a bit of a crazy winter, wasn't it? And I was part of it. I didn't really buy much whiskey in December and into January. In fact, it's very rare for me to have a period of time like that where I can actually recall exactly the bottles that I bought. I was buying so little. I wasn't in the mood. And it turned out that I think everyone felt the same way. There's just loads of folk who just went on a kind of slowdown. They focused on Christmas. You know, they circled the wagons a little bit when it came to whiskey. They fell into their family, I think, and focused on other things. A wee bit tired of the pricing. Just spent years chasing the stuff now and just kind of being tenderized over price and things. And I think it was quite a weird, muted, but nonetheless somehow effective a kind of communal protest almost over winter. People just seemed to stop. Like, everyone except for Rob, of course.
Shh.
Right?
I've not bought anything.
Yeah. Sorry. And it just, you know, everyone you spoke to, you were like, yeah, I've not been buying. And then obviously the stories come out, you know, Andre Habrecht, he did the video in German and talked about how nobody was buying. And then there was all these kind of blog posts came out and stuff. And obviously Fletch kicked off January's 2024 for Dramface with his piece and talking about just the sheer amount of whiskey that's out there and just kind of tackling the whole topic head on. And it really struck a chord with me and I think so many other people. The whiskey that I've almost finished because we spent so much time trying to set up and get the tech right tonight that I've almost finished the dram. I've full 5 CL pour and it was a Master of Malt purchase that I made over winter. And despite the fact that they were knocking horrendous chunks of money, at one point they had 20% off everything, albeit it was their inflated prices rather than the kind of typical prices that we would see, a wee bit cheeky there, but they were doing all sorts of things. And one of the only bottle I bought, I think this freebie turned up, they just threw in a 5 CL sample of the Lakes. It's their blended whiskey, the one which I don't actually think is English whiskey. Maybe it's a blend of English and Scotch, I'm not sure, or it's blended Scotch. It just says fine blended whiskey on the label. And there's only a wee drip left in the glass. But what's been poured and airing, and I've just taken the wee lid off the top of the glass, is a Brookladdy's 18-year-old. And it's good. You know, I have to say it's charmed me. It really has. We can talk about how much I had to pay to get this, but I was standing in good spirits company. I'd gone in and I'd picked up the bottle that was there for, and it's sitting in the cabinet winking at me, you know, just saying, you know, pick me up, that kind of thing. I just said, okay, I'll take a Brookladdy as well. I just went for it. I'm glad I did. I've torn through it. If I take its wee kind of protective case off,
I like that.
I mean, look how much I've torn through.
Oof. Wow.
It's over halfway. I have to say I've shared it heavily. There's a lot of people been curious about this, so I've been quite happy to pour it for anyone who was curious, and unanimously the feedback, even people that don't really particularly love Bruichladdie's style, have had to concede that, you know what, that's a really good wee bottle of whiskey. So that's what's in the glass just now. It's so expensive and it's kind of heartbreaking, and I'm not in a hurry to sit around the family dinner table and rave about the latest £150 bottle that Daddy's tearing through, right? It's just, we can't do this, but I decided, since I'd been so frugal over winter, that I could push the boat out and give this a punt, and I am glad I've bought it. Would I run out and replace it once it's gone? Let's say
Aye,
no.
aye, you
Let's-
would.
Well, that's it. The pause says up.
Aye, you
Let's say
would.
no at the minute. There's so many whiskies out there. There are
Yeah.
so many whiskies out there you want to explore. But let me just hang that topic up for a second, because we just explore. We want to go on to the next thing. But let's be honest. In our 100 bottles of exploration, how many have actually stood out to be superb whiskies, exquisite whiskies, just very, very well put together examples? They are rare. We get some cracking bottles. They're often single casks. They're often never to be repeated. But I think there's an argument that when you find something like this, that you're actually, I like it so much that if I'm in the mood to have the experience that this gives me in a glass, it's really, I just walk in here and pick this up, and I don't look at anything else on the shelves. Just walk in here and pick it up. I know what I want. It's superb, and that's what I'm going to go for. Is that worth £150? I'll leave it with you.
I think there are times, don't give too much away because we've got some things to talk about the next episode, but there are times where you just want to splurge a bit of cash and buy something. 150 quid's a lot of money to spend on a bottle of whiskey, of course it is. And I know there's been a bit of backlash about it, and you compare it with other whiskies of the same age, but I think there are times when, you know, especially times of year, you just think, I've got some money and I want to buy something nice, rather than buying 2 or 3 bottles of, say, 50, 60 quid whiskey, which I guess we've all done in the past, is just use that money to buy one special one that you know, it's hard to take a punt on something like that, but I think sometimes you can be rewarded. You know, we pick things up all the time for prices, and you know, I remember going out and getting a bottle of the Aaron 21.
Yes.
Now, a few years ago now, maybe it was 125, 130 quid. A few years ago, I got that as my kind of Christmas gift to myself a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, at the time, I thought that's a lot of money to spend, and of course it is. But I was thinking, it's a 21-year-old Aaron, and I know I'm not going to be splurging that kind of money all the time, and I'm going to just take it home and just take the time with it. I think we've all had special bottles that we eke out over years. I had that bottle of Brora, which is sadly no longer with us. But that lasted.
Wait. Let's just have a pause for that. Let's just a little second, just a second of silence. There we go.
But I've said before, part of it lives on, because it added a little bit of it to my Kleinlich Infinity bottle. So
nice.
part of it will always remain, well, until that's tanned. But
that's beautiful.
But that lasted just over 3 years, and I've had bottles that have lasted just over 5 years and stuff like that. So I know you're tearing through that bottle, Roy. But if you were to get that again, you know, you take your time with it and just bring it out occasionally, or have a small pour of it and enjoy it. You know.
I think it's, and you made a good point there. There's some banter about, you know, the fact that some people, Bruichladdie fans, were a wee bit annoyed. I think they were super excited about the idea of an 18-year-old, but they you know, there would have been
just an age statement.
It is an age statement.
So
yes.
even just to have an age statement, Bruichladdie was exciting.
Oh yeah. I suppose I hear you. Yeah, that's right. There's not much. I mean, the peated stuff, Port Charlotte's 10 and things, but the classic laddie, it's been a while, of course. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right to have an age-stated Bruichladdie. I think there was an excitement there, but they would have been naive to think that it was going to come out at a bargain price, sub £100 or something. It just wasn't going to happen. Anyway, there was some chat about people saying, well, I'd rather just buy 3 bottles of the classic laddie instead. Why would I spend £150 in one bottle when I can pick up the classic laddie that I love, and that makes sense, and you can understand why they do that. But if you extrapolate that thinking and say, well, just go to Aldi and buy 8 bottles of Queen Margot 8-year-old.
That's a
That-
good night.
that's
That's
the way
a
you're
good night. That's
No half.
Right. What we're
Absolutely,
actually saying is, if you look at the bandwidth, then what you're talking about is at one extreme of the bandwidth, you're talking about drinking and having volume in order to consume,
Mhm.
and the other end of the bandwidth, talking about having precious liquid that you have to be very careful with.
Yeah.
And it's so it's you. Everybody is allowed to based on their means, based on their attitude, based on how they consume and enjoy whiskey, they're able to look at that spectrum and decide where they're going to put their choice, and that's going to decide whether they're going to buy a Queen Margot from I don't know if it's Aldi or Lidl actually that you buy that stuff. I can't remember, but cheaper whiskey, let's say, or whether you're going to pick up a classic laddie in the middle, or whether you're going to go to the extreme and buy something expensive. Of course, I suppose if you push the extreme, at the same time, Bruichladdich released a 30-year-old at £1,500. I mean, just so I think everybody looked at these two bottles coming out at the same time, the 18 at 150, the 30-year-old at 1,500, and thought, these are, this is a positioning exercise here. They're really starting to move up. And if you're running a business, if you're a corporate, type structure, this is exactly the strategy that you're going to move in. This is exactly what you should do. Unfortunately, it's jarring for whiskey lovers and whiskey fans, because we want to be we always want to be back in what it was like in the old days, where we could pick up 18-year-old liquid at relatively affordable prices. At, £55 and £60 for an 18-year-old as recently as 10 years ago. So it's really hard for them. So that's why you get these protests saying, no, I'll just buy 3 bottles of the classic laddie. And so I worry a wee bit that Bruichladdich have lost some of their invested core, drum beating fans. But I have to be pragmatic and say they've put together, in this 18-year-old, they have put together, I believe, the best whiskey that I've ever purchased from them.
Roy, you should read Wally's article on this, on the same bottle. He reviewed it, gave it an 8. I think it was an 8 out of 10. And I would say, that combined with the packaging, I know we don't typically go in for the packaging, but I was quite stimulated by it. It's probably the one bottle this year that's tested my bottle ban. I'm in a ban mode like Rob. And I would say the Bruichladdich 18. And surprisingly, I don't actually have that much Bruichladdich. In fact, I've only got a fill your own bottle, a Valanche bottle that when I was there, that's in my collection. I've got no It's a distillery that I know it's good and I know it's there, but I'm never pulling it into my collection. But that 18, and now when I see you with that bottle, the glass stopper. That's a glass stopper done. Waterford, I know it's ironic, Waterford can take note. That's a glass stopper done well versus the abomination on the Waterford bottles.
There's 3 things I don't like about this bottle.
Is it the stopper?
That I like about this bottle. It doesn't make any sense. A glass stopper, you're like, I kind of like it. But what's the alternative? It's usually plastic glued onto a bit of cork. So actually, when you get used to the glass top, it's actually quite classy. Then you've got this outer cardboard thing that hides the colour of the liquid. It kind of hides the level that it's at and things that I don't. But actually, I've kept it in its little cardboard sleeve, so I actually quite like it. And the third thing about it is this massive label. Can you see just that label is just, it wraps, it almost covers the whole bottle. But they've used it well, because they've put the words, if you do read the label, the words are fairly relevant and not too cheesy, if you pardon, no pun intended. So I think that I've made peace with it. I've come to terms with it. However, I would like to pick you up on your topic. I think there's a lot of mileage in what you've just said about bottle bans and about having to maybe potentially give in because of a very specific bottle that a few people are talking about or that you're interested in. I think that would be a good topic for a future podcast, my friend.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Gregor? Have you got anything in the glass?
Oh, thanks for asking. Thanks for asking, Scott. I know we did go
You're
round
welcome.
table, don't worry. I know.
It's all good.
Well, because this is the first episode, it's a calibration dram for me. So the tried and trusted Glenmorangie G10.
Oh,
fantastic!
A vintage bottling as well.
Yep.
Is it? I guess it is. So it is. Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, we've talked on the rebranding of that. We'll gloss over that again. We don't need to go there. But yeah, it's so fruity. I forgot how fruity it is.
Right, Gregor, you're a bit younger than me, but you probably ate it from the same sweetie shops. Put the nose. It's pineapple cubes.
Oh, I know you always say that. Yeah, sure.
It really is. Glenmorangie 10
Yeah.
pineapple cubes for me.
What's everyone else's calibration dram? Have you
It just depends, Gregor. I think for the moment, mine's been a Johnny Walker 15, but an older bottle of Johnny Walker 15. I've just quite liked that, as it's fruity and it's pretty well balanced, a good ABV. So that's kind of thing. I've got a few bottles of that old style 15. Before that, I would probably just go for something and some Irish whiskey in the go before as a wee calibration dram as well. But nothing set. You know, I always look for something kind of lower ABV. What I'm talking about is that Drukit Dug blend I'm drinking right now is perfect for that as well. It's quality, but it's low enough ABV that you're not going overboard straight off the bat. You know.
How would you translate Drukit Dug
Wet dog
for our international
wet
listener?
dog? Yeah,
or rain drenched dog. Drukit Dug.
Yeah, Drukit is just such a
Drukit.
great word.
Drukit's a great word, isn't it? It's brilliant.
you become Drukit when it's Drich.
If you're out for too long, you're not just wet. You get Drukit.
Yeah.
Rob, have you got a calibrator or no?
Not like specifically. I try to, obviously, like Scotty says, I think it's best to go for something lower ABV, but there's so many good drams that are like 50, like that. Normally it's like 43, 46, but there's some like Broccoli, like this was 50%, and I'd still class that as a calibrator. It's like anything that's not classified as cast strength, I guess. Depends what kind of mood I'm in. I guess I always try to keep everything in the same lane. I don't really like jumping around. So it's like it's almost like I have my sights on a bottle, and it's like, okay, what's the middle ground between me now and getting there? If that makes sense. So if I want like a cast strength PX finish that jobby, I want like what's gonna like.
Yeah, I think when I go to a whiskey club night, I always get a dram when I go in, and it's usually whatever their dram of the month is or whatever it is. So like it could be something quite like a old Paltley 12 or something like that, just to kind of sip before we get into the kind of main lineup of a club night. I kind of mix and match that just with whatever's kind of cheap and cheerful, if you know what I mean. When I'm out,
Malt of the month is usually, recently they've had a lot of Glasgow distillery malt of the month.
Yep.
And it's usually really inexpensive, right? I don't know what they're charging, Scotty, £2.50 or something.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the Glasgow distillery stuff, I've had a bottle of their, I can't remember what one it was. It was I forget now. But that was a good calibrator dram as well. It was just a good quality.
The original
whiskey.
one?
Maybe it was just the original. Maybe the triple distilled. Maybe I can't remember. I should really know that. Anyway, that was a really good kind of start of the evening dram as well. It was really good quality as well. You know.
They've reached out to us recently. They wanted to provide some bottles for us to do write-ups and things like that. And I was cold on it to start with, but then I just kind of got in touch with the writers and said, is anyone interested in this? And a couple put their hands up. And in fact, one of the writers was already doing you mentioned PX there, Rob, and the one that popped into my head was the Glasgow PX. And they were doing a write-up of the cast strength version versus the standard 46% one. So I just went back to Glasgow and said, look, these writers might be interested. And they sent a full bottle out, I think, to everyone. So they sent one to the guy who was doing the comparison, and they sent a bottle out to two other writers as well. So it's going to be really interesting for me to see how, I don't imagine they're all come out in the same week, it's going to be quite spread out, but how our audience reacts to that. Because in our 2 years, by the way, we forgot to say happy birthday to ourselves. We'll get to that, right?
Well, this was the longest roundtable of the drams to get into the.
I know. I mean, see if the first episode is only that. Is it a disaster? I don't know. But
so excited to get started again.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed talking about whiskey with you guys. Anyway, it'd be interesting because in our 2 years, I could probably count on two hands how many freebies we've actually accepted. And it always goes to somebody that's not involved in the transaction, right? It just gets sent to an anonymous name at an address somewhere. So that the writer hopefully doesn't feel any sense of having to be nice about it. And if they're honest about it, and it's not, it isn't what they wanted from us, then probably what's going to happen is that they're not going to send us anymore in the future. So it's like I always say, the problem has been solved.
Well, interesting. To take over from Gregor, it's a nice wee segue. What we talked about at the top about a kind of what we've been up to sort of thing.
Yeah.
And since we last recorded the Glasgow Whisky Club, we had a wee visit to Glasgow Distillery, because it's not open to the public. There's no visitor centre or anything like that. So we go out there on one Friday night. In fact, maybe this was since we recorded last. I can't remember. Anyway, we went, and it's a really interesting place to go. It's in an industrial estate. They can open up these kind of corrugated iron doors, and you get this kind of modern facility, and they're making some interesting stuff. They experiment with stuff as well. And we had a really interesting Friday night there, trying some cask samples, and it was just some of the stuff that were from the cask was just fantastic. And they're still flying a wee bit under the radar. I think their star is rising, but a really interesting visit. They've got a lovely little tasting room as well. So if they ever do decide to open up a little bit more, they've already got that there. It's a beautiful little room, tasting room, and they treat us really well. But big fan of what they're doing, and so that's one of the things that I've been up to.
I have gone from being, Scotty, you're spot on, I've gone from being ambivalent to being quite interested and curious. When I did a V-pub recently with Mark Watt, he sent me a 6-year-old Glasgow that I declared to be a Campbelltown whiskey. And afterwards, we were speaking after the stream had finished, and Mark started to talk at length about Glasgow. And I think what's come clear about their spirit is actually, the triple distilled aside, I think it's a wee bit different, but it's actually quite a dense thing.
Yeah,
it's quite a robust thing. When so many new distilleries, not all, are going for this kind of really super fruity style of malt, Glasgow's kind of seems to be going towards something that's much more robust and quite dense. And of course, now we're starting to sip it at a much more, or let's say it's not necessarily got an age statement, mature, but in the makeup, there's much more mature stock going into the mix than there once was.
Yeah, and they're another company who kicked off with 50cl bottles.
Yeah,
and when I was at the distillery, I just asked what the spike, if they had noticed a spike in sales when they increased the bottle size. Because what they did was, I'm sure many of our listeners will know this anyway, but they moved up to 70cl bottle, but they kept the price exactly the same. So they didn't increase the price from the 50cl bottle, which was great. And I asked, did you notice a spike? And he just laughed and said, yes. It was a considerable spike, because that it held me back from buying a bottle. I tried stuff at festivals, but I didn't ever buy a bottle of the 50cl stuff. But as soon as it went to 70cl for the same price, that's when I started to explore some of their bottles,
If you're going to do it in 50cl and charge us 30 quid, then fine. But that was 49, so and then they went up to 70cl, kept it at 49.
Yeah.
Yes, well done. Well done.
Scott, I truly appreciate you trying to put the podcast back on its rails of the topic.
It's the first time ever, mate. Won't happen again.
You're gonna be my assistant in that regard. In future, I'm going to send you the notes, the touch points that we're trying to hit. No, thanks for bringing it back to what have we been up to in the gap? What I think I would like to go around and touch, maybe personally, what's been happening in your whiskey journeys, and then maybe I touch a little bit on Dramface. But Rob, I think it's been, I was looking, because I was remembering I've got 2 moments of note, and maybe I share them now so that you've got some time to think about. So I know it was actually September that we stopped recording, because one of my moments happened then. So it was actually even longer since we've recorded. But I'll come in on it's between the two as to what would be my whiskey highlight between that time and now. But the one that stood out was when myself and 3 Glaswegians got together in Edinburgh, and once they'd got over the shock of seeing electric lampposts and culture and all of that, of course that was the bottle chasers getting together. we had a great time.
We did.
Not to brag, but we're a ragtag bunch of mates that have only actually been together once before, just with calendars and geography being what it is.
No, that was our third time together.
Was it the third?
Yeah, well, we had the COVID meetup in the park in Glasgow.
Yep.
Yes.
And that was the first time a photo was taken of us being together in the same space. Weird as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were on Isla together.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Of course.
Which was pretty magical, but it was kind
Yeah.
of sporadic because there was Scotty was coming and going, Sevy was coming and going.
Aye. This was a dedicated chunk of time. It was just us.
Just us.
And it was great. Roy, you often use the term tonic. Things are a tonic, and that was a tonic. I needed it more than I thought I knew, and it was great. I lapped up every second. As the older I get, I try and be hyper present, and I was just soaking up every second. And when we were in the Ensign Ewart for the whiskey tasting, it just went from strength to strength, and got to know Rory, the bar owner, and Big Carl from Ardnamurchan was there, and got a couple of great photos behind the bar with the Barflies bottles, and then hung out in the little nook.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sunk a few Guinnesses and charcuterie. It was great. So that for me was one big whiskey moment that happened.
Absolutely.
And it was great.
That was a great day, and I'm thinking back to the tasting was ridiculous. We had I've got the photograph of it right in front of me. Just I've got a tear in my eye. We had a 45-year-old Mortlach, which was distilled in 1936, pre-war Mortlach, and it was just it
was all right.
And that was that not the first dram? That was dram 1.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
we had a wee. There was an extra.
Actually, truth be told, that Mortlach was the calibrator.
Yes,
it was. It was.
Oh wait, no.
We had some new make from Holyrood.
New make, Holyrood.
We got new make. That's right.
And then following that, just to follow it, we had a Port Dundas from 1974. Right after that one, we then had a Springbank Rumwood 16-year-old from back in 2007. We then had a Cadenhead's Little Mill 14-year-old. And we had another Mortlach 11-year-old signatory vintage as well. And we finished off proceedings with a rare cask. Oh yeah, it was the Auerbeg bottling, the Ale of Isla, 2001 vintage. Isla.
Did we not take along some bottles that we gave Sevy and I?
Yes. Sevy bottles, Sevy had a crack. I forget now what it was. I've not got it in front of me. But Sevy had one, and you had one that you donated, and
I don't remember.
We gave out. Actually, I've forgotten now, or rather, I had forgotten. That moment or that hangout was my second moment of whiskey. Sorry, my balloons just went off in my camera. It's good. That's given a bit of a pause while I figure out what I'm trying to say. That was the only second time I've ever had a bit of whiskey fabric fandom. Once was with Martin Fielder when, Roy, you and I were at the Bastards Ball in Texas.
Yeah.
And, we've been recording the podcast for a while, and we get little comments here and there, but you never know who it's connecting with. And that was the first moment where
brilliant
the virtual crossed over into the real. And then we had a similar moment, right, when we were at Ensign Ewart, where there was a couple of barflies and there was a couple of dramfacers.
Yeah.
And they came over and said hello, and one was from East Lothian as well, so it was great. It was surreal.
Yeah, and was it not one of them recognised you, but not until you spoke? And then there was another one that recognised you on your way to the tasting at the train station.
That's right.
But was too sheepish to speak to you.
Yeah, he saw the quiff coming through Trinent. Yeah. So apologies, I forgot names, but it was lovely to see you. And then it was just a magical hangout. And Scott, as you're reaching through your phone, let's play a quick game.
Okay.
Can you all grab your phones? And you're gonna.
I like games.
You're gonna pull up your photo album.
Yeah.
So your recents, and count. What I want you to do is, from whatever your most recent photo is, scroll back to the first appearance of a whiskey and see how recent you've just taken a photo of a whiskey or a glass.
Okay. Got you.
What is it? Yeah.
Job done.
2.
Yeah.
Scott, what was yours?
I didn't have to scroll.
Mine's from at the time of recording, we're towards the end of February, and the last bottle picture I took was on the 12th of February, and it was a Single Cask Nation 23-year-old Longmorn, which is an absolute sparkler. So that's from a couple of weeks ago.
Gordon,
Yes,
how many scrolls do you found out?
the 15th, which was
15?
last Thursday. Oh, no, the 15th of
Okay.
February.
So how many images was that? You had to scroll back quite a lot.
Oh, I mean, I take photos like I breathe.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Rob, are you still searching?
No, I didn't have to scroll at all.
The last photo you took.
There's a picture. There's a couple of pictures of the kidder, and then there's a trio bottle of the Wireworks collection I pulled out last night.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very nice one.
The Alter Ego, the Carduro, and the Full Pot.
I was
Oh.
a wee bit miffed
Nice.
that you were sharing a photo of 3 sealed bottles.
Oh no,
Oh, no.
they all got popped. I was talking to Tom in the chat, in the VPub chat, and yeah,
Good man.
waxing lyrical about his good stuff.
Good.
Roy,
Nice
what
one.
about you? How many did you have to scroll back through?
Well, 42. I had to scroll back, but it's because WhatsApp saves to my photo stream.
Ah,
And
Okay.
I need to toggle that off because it's just taking up so much space. And this has been a crazy week. Rob and I were exchanging photos because of bugs and various ideas and stuff like that. And I scrolled through so many screen grabs and things from the week. So if I don't include any WhatsApp images in the mix, it is 1 image.
one.
The first image. So, and it's a brag as well.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
it's
Let's see the flex.
because I was drinking this week with David Sturck, and David Sturck's been around whiskey for a long time, and the stuff of the whiskey that he's amassed around him over that time is eye-watering. Some of the stuff that he was pouring out, and this one is a 26-year-old Colburn. Now, I think I might have had 1, maybe 2 Colburns at the most in Limburg. I don't, because it's Limburg, you don't really remember, but this one I remember. And that really soft, tropical fruit, lovely mellow. It was 48.6%. It was but it drank like 30%. Crazy soft, amazing whiskey. And it's just that, sometimes when somebody gives you a dram and you feel like you should react in a positive way because it's important to them and it's something quite special. I got the sense that he was quite excited to share this with me and he knew how good it was. And I took a sip of it and immediately it banished all sense of self-consciousness. I just slipped right into it and went, oh yeah, beauty, it's just fab. And I think we had a wee giggle and things and just, it's a rare thing. It's a very rare thing to be able to taste superb old rare whiskies like that. But good. It was a good one. It was a bit of a brag.
I would go on days as to how far back I had to scroll, but that was an anomaly because normally I would be 5 or 10 images before I found a whiskey, but mine was actually back on February the 12th, and it was the Glasshouse. Kind of kicking that around for slipping that into a tasting.
Oh yeah.
The new logo, the new branded Glasshouse, actually.
So that doesn't say that looks really smart. I love that.
I think.
Well, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it, Gregor. Where did you buy it?
That was also bought at the Master of Malt's Christmas sale.
Ah, okay. So Master of Malt, if they've still got Glasshouse now, the picture that they have maybe is the old one. Then let me have a look.
It was the old. That's why it was a surprise for this green label to turn up. Personally, I think I preferred the other one. It was more modern with Glasshouse.
I kind of do. I certainly like the white seal, the foil seal and things on the top of the old one.
So.
Yeah, I don't know, Rob. I might prefer the old. They've kept the font. If the typeface is the same, what I think we need to figure out about that Glasshouse whiskey is it's still made at the same place. Does it say blended whiskey on it? Yes.
Hold please. It still says made for highballs, which I thought was funny.
But and it needs to also say made from 100% barley. And if it's a blended whiskey made from 100% malted barley, it's probably still Loch Lomond.
It still says from a single distillery, a single Highland distillery.
It's still going to be the same.
Langston,
okay, I hope it's as good as the original batch, Gregor, because it was a brilliant whiskey for 26.
Me too. That's why I bought it. That's why I bought it. But rounding off, and Rob, I'll come to you next on what's your moment of note in your whiskey journey between when we last recorded. No, the other whiskey moment was one that was in the works for a while, and when I left the island the first time, I knew I had to go back, and that was a moment that then played out in September of last year when myself and all my home friends from Musselburgh went to Rassie all together. The previous trip, it was 4 of us, and this time it was all of us there, and it was magical. We built in a longer time. It was relaxed. Alistair and Sharon came up specifically for us. I didn't realise it was going to be for us, but they specifically came up to hang out with us. It was amazing. The weather blessed us. It was blue sky. It was great. It was everything I'd hoped, and yet shorter than I needed, even with it being, I think it was a day and a half essentially, so a night and a day.
Yeah.
And still I didn't get enough time to just to sit with a dram and watch the world go by. So I know I need to go back there. And I think, Gordon, now you're so close, I think it would be probably right that it's you and I that go over.
I'm in 100%.
Good.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
So that would be my, and it's such a lovely, I mean, you're getting a big slice of that life now, Gordon, with the move, but it's such a beautiful part of the world. It was whiskey at its root, but it transcended that. It was fantastic.
I quite like the dichotomy between having a bottle and like being giddy and excited and drinking your way through it, and like visiting a whiskey island and being giddy and running around, and then
it's
second
surreal.
bottle, you actually just take your time and just
Yeah.
relax and just spread your legs.
But your point as well of like being there, and you have such a kid and spread your legs. Right?
Stretch your legs, spread your legs.
Spread the aye. The connection though you have, and I think you guys are privileged because you're on the mainland or you're near the distilleries, but the connection you have with a spirit after being at the distillery is unrivaled. It's so good.
I think I mentioned this before in an older podcast about that time up the Speyside and everything was shut. but even just seeing the distilleries in the landscape where they are in relation to each other and the other towns and villages, just to get a sense of place, to borrow a famous book title, is really that's a connection as well, because when you have a drama that you instantly go back. And for me, the whiskey that I always have that takes me back immediately is Lagavulin. I always go back to just the smell of Lagavulin takes me right outside in that car park, right outside the distillery every single time. Like, and that's the one, So I totally get it. There's a connection here once you've been somewhere, definitely.
It reframes everything, doesn't it?
Oh,
it reframes everything, because I guess that's the one thing that people maybe don't understand. If you're getting really excited about whiskey and they've tried that whiskey but they've never been to the distillery, they maybe don't understand why you're so excited, because they don't have your reference points. You don't know what it smells like to stand in the warehouse whilst drinking that whiskey. So it reframes everything for you.
Absolutely does.
Agree. Rob, what's is there a moment in time or an experience between when we hung up the microphones and now?
Well, I feel like it's always easy for me to kind of like slip in and just talk shop, as it were, but I feel like I'd be remiss not to mention the big whiskey event for me since then is the Whiskey Festival, Glasgow Whiskey Festival. And it kind of, in a similar vein, it's not just about the whiskey, it's about where you are when you try the whiskey, the people you're with when you drink the whiskey. And I feel like we say it so much now, is it a cliche? But I think it's so true. And similar to what you said before, Gregor, about taking time and trying to be more present. And I feel like this was my second time going, fortunately, been able to go twice. And the second time, it was that slowing down, taking a beat, not trying to do everything like to them at 100%, trying like to be a completionist. Like I needed to do everything. Like the first time, I was like collecting every little knick-knack and every little bit of memory, and like I was like, even like all the little slips at the blind. Normally I would take them all with me, but they were just left, and I just was talking to people and excited to chat, and it was great. It's that is definitely a highlight, and to the point where this time I've already booked my hotel without even having a ticket in my hand, because I don't even care if I even go to the festival or not, just to be in that city.
I think you'll
Yeah.
be okay, Rob. I think we'll be okay. Just to kind of piggyback on that as well. One of my moments is related to that as well, but from a different kind of perspective. My friend Yana, obviously I've mentioned before, was up, and my brother came along to the festival this year as well, Glasgow Whisky Festival, sorry, last year. But my friend Mark was there. My friend Mark is a guy who just dabbles with whiskey. He enjoys a whiskey, but had a dive off into the deep end. So it was his first festival, and we've been asking for years to go, and he couldn't make it. So that last year was the first year there. To experience the festival through his eyes for the first time, that kind of wide-eyed wonder about what do you mean? Like I just go up and ask for a dram. Yeah, that's what you do. And he was like, oh my god. And so we had kind of rein him in a wee bit, because it was that kind of, like, we've all experienced going to festivals. There's like so much. It's like the first time when I went to my first office Christmas party when I was like 17, and it's a free bar, and I'm there with like 18 pints under my arm trying to shovel them all back to the table. Ridiculous. So for Mark, it was lovely seeing him kind of
Yeah.
engage in that way. And I said to him afterwards, "You coming next year?" He's like, "Absolutely coming next year, definitely." And so for me, that was a real thrill to see that whole thing through his eyes. And I was kind of watching him drinking and looking around and that kind of wide-eyed wonder, and I thought that was great. I felt kind of
Aye.
just, it was a lovely thing to see, so that was one of my kind of highlights as well.
Well, so intense was the FOMO watching you all enjoy the festival. I've committed that my whiskey trip money, which has become a thing. That's a new thing, right? That I'm going to put money towards a whiskey trip. That's only in the last couple of
Is
years.
this because of the bottle ban? You funneled it away into the
Oh,
trip.
I'd love to think that it's going to that, but no, it's just more money. But no, I've committed. I'm going to come over
Hell yeah.
in November
Brilliant.
for
That's great,
the
man.
whiskey festival.
Come on.
The whole weekend, and that's the thing, and not to put any pressure on you, Roy, with the Aquaviti thing, but seeing that it became a 2-day thing, and even to be fair, the night before, so it's it's an event that seems unrivaled. So I've committed. I'm there.
Yeah, that'd be great to see you there, mate. Because again, when Leanne was over from Louisiana as well at the festival, which was fantastic, because I'd met Leanne obviously during the summer when she was in Scotland, and I didn't know until I think a week before the festival she was coming across. So it was great to see her as well. Generous as always, Leanne. She brought some wee treats for me and stuff like that as well. So it was lovely to see her enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great day out. I couldn't make the Sunday tasting Roy's event because it was my mum's birthday on the Saturday of the festival. So I couldn't really. I had to go and spend some time with my mum for her birthday.
Yeah,
so
we
that's
missed you,
important.
buddy. We missed you this year.
I mean, as I say, when I'm that the live tasting is always an absolute blast. It's always a great occasion.
I had to. It was different this year. I had to literally stand up in a chair and shout at everyone and kick them out the room at midnight.
That is burned into my memory. That was the first thing I said to my missus when I got home, was seeing Roy climb up on the top of this chair, going, "Oh, oot!"
I don't care where you go, but you need to be not here. Beat it.
Right.
Gordon, what if you had to single out a moment or an experience maybe between when we last were on a podcast together? Is there anything stands out?
It's been a bit of a turmoil in a good way for us personally, because we moved our operation 200 miles northwest to the Isle of Skye, and it's been everything that we'd hoped it would be. Well, how did I say this? Everything we'd hoped, but nothing we expected, or something like that. It's been so cathartic to remove ourselves from the noise, the white noise of Central Beltism. It's.
I wonder if you're speaking at a slower pace as well.
I think that's just the alcohol.
All right.
No, you do. I feel it in my bones. I feel
Alcohol.
alcohol. Aye. No, like it's little funny things like walking from here. Where we are, just north of Portree. There's houses every 600 yards. Man, we've got a detached garage, so to go and get something from the freezer, we've got to go to the garage. And just walking out, and you hear nothing, not even a car. You hear a birds of prey squawking, or an owl hooting, or a plane going over somewhere now and again. But it is proper silence, and it just relaxes your body. So that's been
That's
brilliant.
fantastic.
And I know it sounds really whimsical and ooh, but it has medicinal purposes to just go and let your brain relax with no external influence. It's rare, especially when you live in a town or a growing town or even a city. You don't get that ambience to just let your mind relax, and it's been brilliant. So that's been good. But I think my highlight between the last podcast and now is probably the Glasgow Whisky Festival. It was just a pinwheel of colour that you just couldn't stop looking at. It was life affirming. And it's funny now, every time I hug somebody that wears a padded jacket, it reminds me of Glasgow Whisky Festival, because all day long you just hear this kind of whoop of padded jackets from folk cuddling each other.
Is that like a 2-stage hug? So you make contact,
Yep.
and then you sink into each other.
Yep, and then there's a kind of slap. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. And it was the whole thing, the weekend was great. But I think for me, it was more the realisation that there's little gems you can find in there. I know that there's so much to look at. And for us, the EIS bottle split guys, we were going around together, the Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman, and we passed Jen of Calendar Drinks Co., who said, you must go to Fragrant Drops and try the North British. And we did, and it just blew our minds collectively at the same time. And little moments like that, you don't factor them into your day, this kind of out-of-body experience of collective realisation that this is what whiskey is. And it was just so beautiful that we all just stood vibrating for a couple of minutes going, this is just the best thing ever.
That was my second drama of the day, Gordon, and I thought
Was
it was
it?
incredible. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. I'd never tried anything from Fragrant Drops. That was I made a kind of, I don't want to say a beeline, I think it was a bee in front of one of the bottles. But yeah, it was that North British 30-year-old, and I tried it, and I just thought,
30.
wow, yeah, it's great. Really
Incredible.
good. Really good.
Like, am I right in saying it was? I mean, it wasn't cheap whiskey. It was
100
triple
quid.
figures, but it
100 quid,
wasn't
yeah.
that expensive, right?
£100, for a grain,
100 quid.
30 years old. I mean, that's that's great.
Insane.
Really good.
Sensational. It was just great. What a day. What a couple of days. And it was even so where I was staying, kind of on the outskirts of where everyone else is staying. It was right on the edge of Kelvin Grove Park. So on the Sunday, when I was a wee bit tired, I went for a wee walk to the Kelvin Grove Museum, Art Gallery Museum, just for the opening, and I just sat in this kind of dawn gloaming kind of soft light and just let the whole experience wash over me while editing my photos on the camera.
Nice.
That's brilliant,
And
man.
just
That's
thought,
fantastic.
what a day that was.
Great.
That's great. I think I remember before when Aira McFault was over for we all met up, and I gave Aira a sample of, I can't remember what it was. Was it Bal Blair? And on that day, he, rather than taking the big sample home with him, he wandered around Kelvin Grove Park, just sipping it out the glass vial
In a
on
brown
a
bag.
Sunday morning. I just enjoyed the
Because
moment.
he couldn't take it home on the flight, right? So
Yeah, so he just enjoyed it in the Kelvin Grove Park, and a wee wander around in the morning sunshine,
Aye. Oh, and it was, it's November, so the trees were bright yellow and bright red, and there was some lady screaming, "Have you seen my dog? Has somebody seen my dog?" But it was just the kind of the kind of low whispering din of the gallery, with this beautiful light, and you've got that huge organ that sits at the end of the atrium there, and I was like, oh God, how good is Glasgow? I've not spent enough time in Glasgow, and I really have to, because it's a beautiful city.
Do you hear this, Gregor McWee? You hear
He's
that?
only saying that. He's only saying that because he stays on an island now.
There's
No, I'm
nothing. There's nothing here.
I'm joking. Roy, wrapping up then, and before we go on to the I Am a Distillery, what if you could pinpoint? Was there any moments of note over the last 5
Well,
minutes?
just on record, and I have to just this is a Dramface podcast, so the whiskey events were absolutely Legfest at the end of September. It's a very
Of course,
Aquaviti channel
of
thing.
course.
But it was just a stunning gathering of people. It kicked off on mass, that is. And I'd met Jimmy a few days before, and I was already excited about it. But on the Friday night, all the Glasgow Whisky Club team came back from the Glasgow distillery tour into the Bonaccord, and it just started to build there. The sense of enjoyment started to build there, and we just marched into the weekend and had the most fabulous and weirdly international time. People had come from all over Europe. Obviously, Jimmy himself and his wife Angie had come over from Nova Scotia, Canada. You would think they would be the furthest travelled, but no, people from all over the North America, people from South America, Brazil, and people from New Zealand and Australia. It's just nuts. This is nuts. Now, I'm not sure any of them made a very, very specific journey just for that, but they actively arranged their schedule around it and changed their travel plans in order to take it in. So there was a huge pressure that it was going to be a bit of a damp squib. Why have I bothered, to go to all of that effort just to have a few drams in a pub? But every story that's been recalled about the highlights so far has had a theme, and we know what the theme is. It's not whiskey, it's people. So the people just step forward and take care of it all, right? The people just step up, and I'm dizzy and I'm stressed and I'm worried about, is this going to be fun? Are people going to enjoy this? And Scotty and I spoke about the fact he was one of the guys that I lean on heavily, and I apologise for it, but I really do.
Not
And
at all, man.
it's so reassuring, fortifying. It means that I can cope, I can function, and I can mentally pull the thing off. And he's behind the bar pouring drams for everyone. And the whiskies that's getting handed in for people to share are stunning, right?
Yeah.
And then we lost Paul McDonough last year, the proprietor of the Bonaccord in Glasgow. Fabulous man. An ambassador for whiskey, for the pub, but more than anything, an ambassador for people in Glasgow. And we lost him, and his son has stepped into those shoes and filled them in an incredible way. And Thomas comes up to us and says, "Here, share this." And it's his dad's bottle of the Loch Lomond 10-year-old Aquaviti bottling.
Oh, wow.
More than half the room hadn't tasted it, hadn't even touched a bottle of it.
It's brilliant.
And it got rinsed in about 12 minutes, and we raised a glass of all, and just stunning stuff. And so it was all really kind of hard for me just to keep a lid in it. It was just so emotional. And being drunk's not a good look, but greeting and being drunk is definitely not a good look, right?
It's a normal Saturday night for me. I just want to add as well, because I was serving some drinks along with Sevi, who brought along not one bottle of Daphne, but two, and of course Jim Jensen. Jim was there, and he brought along the Ardnamurchan, or the Ardnamerican bottle for us to try as well.
That's right.
And I think that was the night that Tony Nelson was there, wasn't he? And he'd come from Baltimore.
Yep.
And James had come across from
Boston.
No, he's not from Boston. He's from oh my goodness,
It's the northeast somewhere.
I think it's New York State somewhere.
New
Anyway,
Hampshire somewhere.
and he'd come across as well, because they said we didn't bring any luggage. The prices for return flights were pretty reasonable, so we're coming here for a couple of days and flying back home. But that night was and Thomas also, remember, after that he came across with the bottle of Chichibu as well to open. Remember, it was a bottle just for whiskey bars.
Absolutely, I remember.
And he
it.
just walks up and says, "Here, take this, open it, and share it." And you're like, "What? It costs a fortune,
Genuinely." And I said, "No, you can't do this." And he said, "I think you'll find I can." He said, "This is yours." And I think that he's very aware that that pub has been built on community, being welcoming. They really do pride themselves on kind of being an open arms, welcoming place. I think it's all the staff are like that. They're very, very warm, very friendly, even when they're frantic and busy. And I think that he picked up on the whole vibe of it all, and just was just kind of, this is the type of thing he wants to encourage being there. People that are drinking all day, by the way, and standing upright when they have to leave. And we had to get ushered out of that pub at the end of that night. We wanted it to last longer. We wanted it to just go on all night, but it was just fabulous. So I have to mention that. Of course, it's easy for me to talk about the Glasgow Whisky Festival, but you guys have covered it well. It was just adrenaline, buzzing, just wonderful. Can't wait for next year again. We're going to figure out ways to make it less stressful, less heavy for us all, a bit more slick, a bit easier, because it's just grown so much. And my favourite line was somebody saying, and I just kept repeating it all night. Somebody said, "Remember that time that 100 of us went for a curry?" But I mean, I think that I want to mention the 4 bottle chasers getting together. It was a tonic. That was the absolute perfect way of describing it. But I also want to mention, my brother and I don't see each other enough. When I was working, one of my offices was right next to where he lives, and I saw him all the time because I was going to the office, and I don't see him much anymore. But we went up to close to the Isle of Skye last year. The 2 families went together, and we went in October, and we took all our wellies and our outdoor shoes and boots and multiple layers and waterproofs and all of that stuff. And from the time that we arrived to the moment we left, an entire week, we barely saw a cloud. The weather that week was beyond pristine. It was stunning. Every single moment of being up there was like a picture postcard view. That helped a lot. But for my brother and I just to sit looking across to the Isle of Skye from Glenelg, where we were located in that house, and just sitting outdoor on deck chairs, looking at the Isle of Skye, clinking together 2 glasses, and enjoying each other's silence. It was just absolutely looking at the sky. I'm just glad to be alive, and fabulous stuff. It was a whiskey moment. My brother and I, we can get together and anything. We're happy doing anything, but a dram these days as we get older is super. It's really special.
No, that's good, Troy.
And
And I've met Craig. And I wish I could enjoy his silence more than his noise.
He's brand new, man.
He misses you too.
That guy, he's absolutely great company. We had such a good time with him. He was absolutely brilliant that holiday over on Campbelltown and Isle. He was absolutely a joy to be around. It's fantastic.
He always is. Yeah,
that needs to happen again. Actually, we need to talk about a trip, a thing.
I'm still paying for the last one.
Well, I know. You still did you break your car on that trip? I can't remember. You drove over the rock at the Cadalton Cross. I don't know.
No, that thing's like the Millennium Falcon. It's indestructible. It just keeps going. Patch it together. It's still out in the driveway now. It's still going. No, it was fine. When I say paying for it, I mean paying for it in terms of it's really difficult when you've got a young family to turn around and say, "Oh no, it's for work. I'll be away for 8 days, 9 days." But it's a work thing, right? It's just really hard to pull off. So that was the reason I got away with it that time. It was the postponed 50th birthday celebration because my 50th happened during 2020, the COVID year, and then we had bizarrely a lockdown in 2021 as well on my birthday. So I managed to get it that way. But
we can all take turns in turning 50 if that's an excuse.
You took the words right out my mouth.
I'm 40 this year.
Those were the days.
40?
Yep.
There we go. Jesus this year. I've already committed to the Whiskey Fest.
Yeah, stuffy then.
Here, Gordon, turn 40 next year. How about that?
No problem.
All right.
Can I turn 40 next year? That'd be grand.
Well, we caught up on our. It was a wee bit self-indulgent to catch up on so much of our own personals, but maybe we bump the Dramface catch up to the next episode. So, spoiler, listeners, next episode we're going to be catching up on Dramface.
Well, we can just view this as just getting back into the rhythm of what this is actually supposed to be, right?
This is it. I forgot how it is to try and wrangle a conversation and without cutting people off. We've got a community-sourced I Am a Distillery.
Good.
And I'll say, or I'll apologise that we've only got to these now, and we'll use a community one on the next one as well. It's actually recorded as well, so it's a good way for you guys, the listeners, to join the podcast and chime in. So by all means, I believe our dramaphone is still live. What I think I did find out, Roy, it might only our tape might only allow for a minute's recording, so we might want to look at that.
Oh, really?
That might be a barrier for some. So I think they have to be quite succinct, but all good, because Travis Keltner was very succinct and gave me nice clear breaks to chop this into 10. It's actually a few more than 10.
Travis Keltner, what a guy. I call Travis the Centurion. He was patron 100 for me. What a guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Superb that he's still around us. That's wonderful.
And I'll say as well, Rob, you started to track the I Am a Distilleries, and you must have.
Yeah.
I think it went over my head that you were. That's great, and we need to keep that going, because it allows us to track rather than me going listening to the tail end of every podcast to track who said what. So
it was actually quite fun doing that, because I actually got to listen to a lot of the podcast again.
Oh yeah. It was great. So I'm going to do a better job of tracking which we've used and who. Just out of for shits and giggles, actually, you've kept a tally as well, and as of podcast 20, I think it was, we had Stuart, Gordon, Andy, myself, and Jason all trailing with 1 win. Rob with 2, Julie with 2, Scotty Monroe, you've won 4.
Scotty's been on fire.
Would leave Roy at the top with 5 wins.
Oh, wow.
So let's see if we can.
And yet, my only memories are the crushing defeats.
Oh, I know.
I think if you get it wrong, though, you have to delete a win, right? Like promotion and relegation.
Or maybe you could nominate. You could choose to take the win or take one off someone else. How about that?
I like that, man.
That's evil, adding an evil element into things.
I love it. Yeah. So for those that maybe listen, if you've come in the 25th episode of this podcast, this is a game where we start with obscure questions around a distillery, and ideally they start getting a little more helpful, and you get to shoot your shot of a guess at any point, but you only get one shot. Once you've shot your shot, that's it. You're locked in, and all will be revealed at the end. So with that, we'll go with the opener. Are we ready?
Let's go.
Howdy, folks. My name is Travis. I live outside of Austin, Texas, and I've been a friend of Roy's for a fair number of years now. I'm submitting a questionnaire for the distillery game. I am a distillery. I was founded in 1893, but didn't begin producing until 1894.
Ooh. 1893.
No guesses.
No.
A founder was a former manager at the Bonaccord Distillery in Aberdeen.
All right. So no guesses.
No guesses. No.
Gordon's looking tantric right now. He was like meditative.
I'm channeling.
Good. I've given up ever trying to guess on these. I'm quite happy that I don't have to play and I just host now.
I declared bankruptcy and was sold a mere 4 years later in 1898.
This is stunning entertainment for the listener. The silence of any takers. I'd say now's your time to take a shot, Scott.
No, I don't have a clue.
All right, here we go.
My ownership changed most recently in 2001. I began with 4 onion-shaped stills. 2 more were added in both 1972 and 1974 for a total of 8.
8?
Okay, I'm honing in on something. So do I go or do I pause? Just
okay. Go for it, Roy.
Please continue, Gregor.
10 to go, or like 1, 2, 3, 4 to go.
Okay.
My stills are similar to those at the Yoichi distillery in Japan.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, Yoichi in Japan.
Stills are similar to Yoichi in Japan. Okay.
I'm completely in the dark here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Next one.
I am not open to the public for visits.
Okay.
Loch Lomond.
Oh no. Loch Lomond, you
He
said.
shoots.
And misses wildly.
We'll find out if you score. Anyone else?
1893.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'll take one more, and then I'm going to go for a punt. And I have no idea.
Mine was a hoof.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
My favorite colors are birch and plum. In recent years, I have had a penchant for leather.
Leather.
Longmorn.
Oh, I think that was Roy.
Rob had that.
Oh, he did?
I was gonna say it, but
Oh.
Scotty beat me.
I don't know.
Oh, here we go.
I am Longmorn.
Oh.
Thanks. I hope y'all enjoyed it.
That's what I said.
Well, I think only in Roy's replay. Did you actually say, Rob? Did you say Longmorn?
No.
Oh.
I said it in my head. That's about as
Then
far as I got.
I think Roy's internet connection was faster, Scott.
That's okay. That's all right.
I
I'll
think
do
we
that.
can split this one, Scotty. What do you think?
How dare you? No. I think that's fine. That's fine. I was going to say Longmorn before, and I said the next one just to hear it because it's open for the public. I'm thinking Speyside, and because it's one of my favourite distilleries, and then the leather base bottom thing for the old.
Aye.
It wasn't until we got to the leather thing that I
got excited when Gordon started saying law, yes, no.
That was a good one.
Well,
That was good.
That was
Travis, thanks for sending that in.
Yeah,
and,
Thank you,
Yeah,
Travis.
thank you, Travis.
by all means, send your I Am a Distilleries in to timeforadram@gmail.com or record. And by all means, pose us any questions, any topics you want us to kick around. It's always good bringing you guys in, guys and girls, to the chat. It's a good way of interacting.
I do enjoy it. I do enjoy the other voices coming in. I do enjoy, and fair play to Travis because he got it there. That was a good. The questions becoming more and more accessible, right? As it goes on, that gradient. It's not easy to put it together.
Yeah,
that was superb.
Great.
Yep,
Well, guys, thank you all for joining, and thank you, listener, for humouring us for well over an hour. Despite our best efforts to try and keep it under an hour, it's like a episode of the Aquaviti. But cheers all, and we will catch you on the next one. Slange.
Okay,
Cheers.
great to see you guys.
And
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Dramface Podcast. We'll try and get the next one to you much, much quicker this time. If you're trying to interact with us in the meantime, leave a comment under any of the articles over at dramface.com, or you can send us an email, hello@dramface.com. If you're a Dramface member, you can interact with us using the Dramaphone and leave an audio message for us there. See you soon.
No, still not there. Keep going.